Hello, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk Off the Podium. I have a conductor with me, Maria Seletskaja. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Tigran. It's a pleasure to be here.
Perfect pronunciation of my name. Thank you.
I have worked with many awesome, talented Armenian people during my ballet career in the past, and we have had several Tigrans there.
Oh,
wow. Yes, it's sort of still there in my mouth.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, you already mentioned it, but the fascinating thing about your career is that you were like a superstar ballet dancer, professional at the highest level, playing, dancing all over the world, performing all these different stages. I've had a couple of people on my podcast who were, danced maybe early on, but not at your level. So tell me a little bit about your ballet career and maybe the transition into conducting.
Okay, first, thank you. I will happily share my story, but first I would like to say immediately that I was not a superstar in ballet. There are superstars. I think I early on decided in my head that I will follow two paths in my life, and that's why I did not put enough ambition, I think, into reaching interstellar level. But yes, I was a principal soloist in last two companies I've worked with, and so it sort of makes me one of the top ranked people. But I was not a superstar. Superstar is someone who has an international career. You see, the Thunder agrees with me.
Yeah.
So I never was dreaming to become either a dancer or a musician. Although I did dance and I played piano since I can remember myself. I went to, like many of us, I guess, to children's music school. I started at the age of 4.5 or something like this. And according to my teacher, I was very talented. Things were coming very easily to me. And no one practiced with me when I was small, but things somehow happened. And as I was nearly graduating from children's music school, the time came to possibly do entrance exams to the ballet school. And just by chance, I won't tell the whole story, but it was literally by chance, because I never dreamed to be a ballerina. I ended up in ballet school. So out of this miracle or chance or whatever, over a few years, occupation in ballet, out of an occupation, ballet became a passion, an obsession, I would say. But music was always there. We were having obligatory piano lessons for first 5 years in ballet school. So my teacher, she decided to continue with me following the program of music school, because obviously I was more advanced than many of my peers. So I continued developing, and I was playing quite a nice rep, and I think my technique was developing, and my piano teacher kept weeping in lessons. She said, please stop the ballet, you'll become a musician, it comes so easy, you have this innate musicality in you. And I did big eyes, long swan neck, and I said, no, I'll be a ballet dancer. But my mother, she kept on insisting, as the amount of hours I would spend in ballet studio would increase naturally, I didn't have any more time or also not so much desire to sit at the piano and continue. And she told me this one nice phrase. She said, why don't you continue playing? Not much, 1.5 hours a day, something like this, just to keep your hands going, not necessarily progressing, but just to keep on going, because one day when you grow up, you might experience feelings, very strong feelings, which might be good or bad, but you will not have enough words to express these feelings. And then you will sit at the piano and you will play your heart out. These words have become prophecy. And because I continued playing piano without interruption, it has sort of led me to where I am now. Mm-hmm. Because then when I have graduated from ballet school, I joined the Estonian National Ballet, and I started having more time on my hands, and I started playing piano really seriously. I got a teacher who was also scolding me. He would say, listen, you don't need to be a dancer, although it was going very well in the ballet by that time. He said, drop the dance, you'll practice, you will study with me for 2 years, and in 2 years you'll be ready to go to conservatory. I promise you'll become a concert pianist. You know, I was playing concerti and stuff like this. And I did back eyes. I said, I don't want to be a concert pianist. I never wanted. Now looking back, I understand that it was simply not my instrument. I'm proficient in it. It's good, but I have picked up violin 5 years ago, and this is my instrument. Had I started with violin years ago, I would have probably become a violinist. This is like my instrument, my love. I love it even more than conducting. But I will never get good enough, you know. So but I'm fine with that. So, and then this very interesting talk happened with one of the violinists of the opera orchestra. I was injured at the time, and I was very miserable, and I was speaking with him after a rehearsal run through of a Nutcracker. And I said, just dropped the phrase, I said, I would give 2 years of my life to once stand in front of an orchestra and wave my hands. I know, guys, that I don't know anything about it, but you know, you can play it on your own. But I would give 2 years of my life to just once wave my hands along the music of Nutcracker. And he looked at me very seriously, and he said, but we all know that you're a dancer, so you obviously know the dance. You're playing piano here until the midnight, so you obviously know what means, like what notes mean. Why don't you become a conductor for ballet? And I said, no way. For dancers, conductors are gods. They are unapproachable. They are very far. You don't dispute with them. You have this immense respect. It's just like this. And I said, me there, never. But then I moved to Berlin, Staatsballett Berlin, Barenboim, Pierre Boulez, Lang Lang, people like this who were all there 10 meters away from our ballet studio. And I started peeking into the studio every free moment, and I realized that this world is super fascinating. I didn't understand anything, I mean, apart from piano. But I got to see greatest maestros in rehearsal. You know, when Staatskapelle Berlin would prepare for their Berlin Philharmonie concerts, you know, it was all happening there, like right there and available. And as days, weeks passed, people got used that my face was there in the open crack of the door, you know, and they thought, oh, okay, this weirdo. But I realized that I got the virus. And I think a couple of years passed until I thought, okay, I would like to pick up a score and see what's actually there. And I realized that I drowned in it. I didn't know what is happening, why this sounds, but something else is written. And then so it started. But I was very lucky to have many people on my path who would give me personally tailored advice, which was exactly right for that particular historical moment. And the people would, you know, share with me their knowledge, their the lists of literature which I needed to read to start with, you know, at least to get some sort of knowledge. But then as years passed, I realized it's really something what really rings the bell deep inside here. And as all the ballet dancers, they always think what to do after the career. We all have this alarm ringing in the head since we are small. Everyone keeps sort of pushing it because we are dedicated to dance, it's so time consuming, so energy and passion consuming. But I realized that if this could work out, it's crazy. It's really crazy. But I thought I would be really happy if I could do it. And God helped me.
You mentioned people who have inspired you. You didn't mention one name, but I want to get to that name, and I know you'll have a lot to say. And Estonians are super talented people, and I want to thank Martin Kuskman for recommending you because you have a fascinating career, and he's another legendary bassoon player, and I know he wouldn't want me to describe him that way, but he's truly a world-class musician, and really interesting chat with him. The person I'm talking about is the great Järvi family, and you've had a relationship with the Paavo Järvi, and you were, I think, in the academy, or you've taken master classes with him, and also were on tour with him for a little while, from what I understand. How about a little bit about your collaboration with him?
Are you sure you have enough time in your podcast for me to talk about that? I mean, it's not just Paavo. I would start with Neme, with his father, who is a legend. You know, absolutely delighted that I mean, first of all, I'm proud to be coming from the same country as these giants. They are, to say these giants, sacred monsters of music. I'm honored to be coming from the same land and speak the same language. But apart from that, I'm very happy that I can still have a glimpse of so-called old school, to which name obviously belongs. And every year when music world celebrates his birthday, I sit down and I make a little prayer, you know, that he will still be granted many years of health. And so he would have possibility to share his wisdom with us. And it's not only wisdom, it's also the way of behaving on rostrum. It's it's pleasant, friendly, authoritarian way of behaving there. The way of presenting yourself in such a way that you literally blink an eye and everyone follows. It's not so present with the younger generation because simply the tradition has changed. People have to calm down. Conductors have descended from Olympus, obviously, and you can see it with Paavo. Also, Paavo, he has said several times after his father's concerts, because his father always opens the Pärnu Music Festival in summer. It has been a tradition. He always has the first night, and sometimes he does things which, you know, you sit there and you listen and you say, how dares he, you know? But it's mind-blowing. And then I realized that me personally, I keep on going back to these amazing unobedient moments in music some months later, and I think, wow, that was a jewel, because it was not only brilliantly played, but it was also a demonstration of absolute flexibility in music, but also an absolute how to say, mastery of control, that he just decides on a spot that I'm going to reverse everything what I have rehearsed, and they just actually get it. And then Paavo speaks after the concert and he says, you know, wow, I would not dare. What a brilliant audacity in music. He said, I would not dare to do what my father does, but his father does, you know, he comes like a being on stage, you know. And I'm sure if you had stopped him at the moment when he does some controversial, beautiful things, you would ask him, Maestro Järvi, why do you do that? He would actually give you an answer. And that's what makes it very legitimate. So I am honored to see that this exists. And plus, of course, the technical things that he has to share, they are priceless. I just wish I had more mental capacity to actually process things faster and to get them into my hands faster. And then Paavo is very opposite, I would say. He has different virtues to him than his father. And just like his father, he has amazing knowledge about rap. He conducts a vast range of music, starting from classical, ending with modern times. He seems to know everything about every composer, every style, every epoch, everything. So, you know, every time when I'm granted the possibility, a chance to spend time with him, I become one big ear, you know. I probably come across as a really stupid person because I barely can speak. But I am absolutely thrilled and I'm honored to sort of be accepted, like he says, into a circle of his people.
Well, let's go back to some recent events. I think it happened about a year ago with National Ballet of Canada. You have a position with them, from what I understand, a little bit about that position. And also, do you ever recently, well, now that you're conducting actively, get to places where you're seeing some friends from the ballet? A little bit about that, please.
Oh, absolutely. All the time. And actually, one of my very good friends, I would say best friends in ballet, works as a principal dancer in the National Ballet of Canada. And it's indirectly also through her mentioning my name to the music director of the National Ballet of Canada, David Briskin, that he actually came across my name and he decided to collaborate with me. So ballet bubble is as small as musician's bubble. The more you work in it, the more you know someone, and it's at some point after I think 10 years in an industry, it's literally impossible to go somewhere, even as a guest or to take class. Sometimes, we move around and we go and take class, we hang around for a company for a couple of days, see a show. But it's literally impossible to go and not know someone or not to know a friend of someone. So yes, I come across people all the time, mostly wherever I go, people know who I am. And especially since I got this position in Toronto, and Norman Lebrecht picked up my story, like as my music director said, he says, now literally everyone knows about you, which, me, this saint in a sense, I said, oh, yes, Norman Lebrecht, yes, I have read his, I read his website. I said, do you know who he is? I said, I read his website. He said, well, literally everyone knows about you. Yeah. So if before people would still come to me sometimes and say, you look kind of like a dancer. Have you danced before? And I would say, it's still until last year, I was still actively dancing, and dancing and conducting in Stuttgart. So I would say, yeah, I'm dancing. I'm taking class in the morning and then I conduct in the evening. So back then it was a very surprising thing for people, but now people know me and know my story. And surprisingly, some choreographers, for instance, with whom I have not worked, I come sometimes to our paths cross, and I say, hello, I'm this, and they say, oh, I know, you're the conductor, ex-dancer. So they don't even know me as a dancer anymore, but they know still that my background was there.
Mm-hmm. Well, since you mentioned Norman and the slipped disc, which is his website, I have to say, sometimes that website could be terrifying just to read the comments. I mean, the story is fine, but the comments. So since you mentioned that, I want to, not specific to what was, what the comments are, but how do you deal with criticism? Because there's just so many people who, you might know them, you might not know them, they'll say things about you. How do you deal with that? And that does it affect you? Because I've talked to some people who are like, well, who cares what they say? I really don't pay attention. But other people, they're like, well, I don't talk about it, but it really affects me personally. How does it affect you?
First of all, I'm my biggest critic. And unfortunately, I'm also my biggest enemy. I'm working on it because I'm learning to see myself in more positive light. But I think my criticism has made me go through what I needed to go to in order to come where I am now. So it's all fine. But mentioning the slip disc, I was stupid enough to read some comments, what came on my little article. My God, I have burned my fingers really badly. Because the problem is that until I will feel that I am an accomplished conductor, or at least I think no one ever feels an accomplished conductor. It's probably wrongly said, but at least that I come in and I feel like I really know what I'm doing. I think I will always fear that there will be someone, fifth desk, first violins, or last desk basses, who look from behind the stand and say, the king is naked, she's just a ballerina who learned to wave her hands. And this is my biggest immunity to, become authoritarian. I will never become that because I'll always doubt what I do and I will always question. And if there's ever a problem, I will always think it's my fault, which I think is good. But it also can be a big problem because it can lead to certain insecurity. So I was very happy that there was one, I'm going back to Norman's slip disc website. I was very happy that there was one conductor who is conducting a lot of ballet in the States, who literally rushed to my defense because someone said that, yeah, I don't see any relevant training, just some little master classes that she does. But of course, if I write something on my website, I will not put in the whole list of things what I've been doing. And I will also not mention hours and hours and hours of private lessons, which horribly hard private lessons I have had with music director of Stuttgart Ballet, who actually was the one who believed in me, who took me from the ballet studio and sort of took me under his wing. And I went through a training with him. It's hard to even remember the training. And if I think we also spoke with him, and I said, if I would sort of put amount of time spent one-to-one in a rehearsal room together, I think it will come more than to anyone who has ever done conservatory, because there are many people and each one has to have a piece of pie. Me, I was lucky and blessed to have a guy, highly experienced man who has conducted for 40 years or 50 years, I don't know exactly, who would spend 2.5, 3 hours with me, going through like full ballets, for example, with me, and making me repeat and repeat and repeat. And he would be very honest. He said, sometimes he would say, Maria, this is a shit conducting. I have them recorded because I was recording my lessons. He said, no one will play if you conduct this way. What is this? He was also very illustrative. So, of course, right now I can say I'm missing my conservatory diploma, but actually I am about to do entrance exams in Estonian Academy of Music because I want to do postgrad in music,
Oh, wow.
This is my plan for next year. If I will get accepted, I will start my studies, just to also for myself to have it as a shield, But then I was lucky to be trained in specifically ballet conducting, because ballet conducting is very hard.
Of course.
It's also Paavo. Last year, Paavo was telling to all the students, he said, if you want to really know how to make your life bearable in front of an orchestra and how to really reassure yourself that you can conduct, you have to conduct ballet at least once in your life, because the changes of tempi are happening sometimes every 2 bars. Moods are changing, rallentando, fermata, accelerando, subito piano, subito stop, and breathe, and everyone has to start together with the dancer who is in the air, and not later, not now. Orchestra cannot start playing with the concertmaster, they have to play with you. So it all has to happen from your hands and not from the concertmaster. So Paavo also said, and I was very delighted to hear that from him, because very often ballet conducting is being overlooked. For whatever, I won't go into the discussion of why. There are several reasons, I think, but I am grateful to have had a hardcore training in ballet music, because for example, now I was in Canada and I had to do my Romeo and Juliet show with no rehearsal. I had half an hour rehearsal before with an orchestra, because music director took the entire time to himself, fair enough. I had the chance to go through a few places in third act, which is very hard. And then I had to go there and nail it, So every time when I nail it and it doesn't fall apart and people actually play together and they sort of do what I want, or I sort of show what I want, I always say, thank you very much, Maestro Tagl from Stuttgart Ballet, for believing me and for making me go through absolute hardship. I was crawling out of these lessons with him, saying that I will never become a conductor because this is unbearable. It was always in silence, so you cannot wave hands to the music. You can easily get lost in the score. And he's like, so when does the second horn enter on the 3.5 beat, So you have to cue while being busy with someone else, because this guy has never had a solo entrance in his life, and now he has to do this particular entrance. And it's important. Do it. No, bad again. So, of course, I won't mention this on slip disc. And of course, it looks from the outside that I just came and I waved my hands.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Well, I have to ask, and I don't like asking too many personal questions, but based on what I saw online, I have to ask, is you're a mom, you have a boy, and he's all over your Instagram and your social media. So how has life been the past couple of months, specifically because of the COVID-19, but also just as such an active dancer, former dancer, and now musician, how do you balance career and life and, you know, the back and forth that it requires to keep everything in place?
When I was small, my mother used to tell me that the best rest is change of an activity, which I think to a certain extent it's correct. It should be like this. And being raised this way, I think it sort of made me capable of doing what I have done over the past 5 years of my dance career since my son was born. To put it shortly, I didn't sleep. I slept very, very little. I still don't know how I survived, but I survived. I knew I was really going beyond my physical capacity because I was dancing some major big roles. And when you dance big roles, it's like running a marathon. You need to sleep, you need to eat, you need to rest. But instead of resting, normally I was, sun apart, sun is fine, but I was studying at night. So I remember I was just every evening going to bed and praying to God and thanking my body. I said, it will pass. It's just a moment of transition. Please survive. Please, no heart attacks, no injuries. Wake up. Please get this as much rest as possible out of this 3.5 or 4 or 5.5 hours, maximum. What that was. My son, it's a blessing. It's, of course, very hard being a single mom, but it's an absolute blessing. And his presence in life has put so many things in perspective. And then first of all, I have a reason to simply be alive. I have a reason and extreme responsibility to be alive, to stay alive for him. And I have never experienced such an unconditional love, unconditional love. He tells me, Mama, when I'm next to you, I feel the best. You're the best person ever. And I know that won't last. In a few years, he will be embarrassed of me because I can make such a fool out of myself on the street somewhere. He'll be probably crossing the street and saying, I don't know this person. And then phoning me or WhatsApping me, Mom, or whatever technology there is. Mom, can you stop? I'm embarrassed. But right now he says, he just told me a couple of days ago because he went back to school now for 2 days a week. And he says, Mom, we say bye-bye. And I entered the school, and the moment you go, I already miss you, and I already want to go back to you. And I was like, oh, my little heart, it's beautiful. So, of course, there are moments when things are unbearable. And with COVID, it has been hard, to say the least, because I just didn't have a break, ever. So all the activities which I needed to do either had to be done through the filter of not being able to dive into them. Studying scores is out of question, because if you are interrupted every 47 seconds, I actually one day calculated it was 47 seconds. Mama, it is impossible. If you need to transpose something, or if you need to understand where is it going, there's no way. And then at the end of the day, I'm just so tired that I said, okay, after a few weeks of agony, I said, that's it. This 2 months, 3 months, whatever it will last, will be my son's time. Let's see what we can do. So we have started studying, reading, jumping, playing football, playing tennis with my slippers at home, all kinds of things. We planted a garden in my backyard. Yeah. I started practicing more violin with him because he also practices violin. So he has made an incredible step forward, as these kids do when they're so small. So, I think in a few years, I will be looking back at this time as a total bliss, because it has been, or it is still a time to actually stop, reflect, be bored, be scared, be true, to allow these truthful feelings come out. Because very often when you are trapped in your schedule, travels, having obligations, meetings, scores, whatever, you actually don't even know what's happening inside. And Paavo actually has mentioned also the same thing in one of his talks. He said it was amazing because he's doing these weekly talks on Facebook. He's picking a composer and making a whole lecture of 2 hours about each of composer, which is amazing. Sometimes he goes into personal details, and then he says it has been amazing to actually stop and realize where I am, feel the feet on the ground. I loosely transcribe what he says. It's not a quotation. But he's always on the road more than me, or more than probably many people. Yeah. And it's good. I think it's good for all of us to realize who we are, where we are for real, and then start building certain things, repairing certain things, or maybe cherishing some things which we might discover. Mm-hmm. So it has been good. Yeah. Hard, but good.
All of us musicians, dancers, artists go through some rough patches where we're like, I'm just going to quit. Has there been a moment like that, or maybe moments that you could maybe say details, both as, for that particular moment, but also how you got out of that moment? Because that's very important. Some artists get to a very terrible moment and they want to quit, and they just have the hardest time just getting out of that terrible situation. Anything that you could give advice on and maybe think back and remember?
I'm really blessed to have had a full career already. I'm now 36, and it's amazing to have this kind of experience I have had behind my back, because I can choose what from my behavior patterns in my past career to take with me and what no, absolutely not. And I have been busy last 2 years really sorting out, because I wanted to quit ballet approximately 2 times every day. I was very unhappy in ballet. Now that it's behind my back, I realize, and I can speak about it, it was incredibly hard for me. Starting from very beginning, starting from that people would just, it's a cruel world. It's a cruel world. It's a very physical world. And young girls especially, they go through lots of very uncertain, insecure moments psychologically. You always need to lose weight, you always need to look this way and not that way, line, foot, whatever. So there were some things in my physical body which I could not change. I could develop, I could turn, hide, whatever, but there were some things I could not. Nevertheless, I made an amazing career, but I never could get away from that little Maria, what was scared and who was told that you will not make it. You just will not make it. You just will not make it. So unfortunately, it remained as a big black cloud in my subconsciousness, and I just refused, and I could not, I was unable to see the development I have done. So people would tell me, you're an amazing dancer, you're beautiful, everything is fine. But I would say, thank you very much. I would genuinely thank people, but deep inside there was a huge insecurity. And then when I retired, I said, there are some things which I should not take. And being negative towards myself was the absolutely first thing what I said I want to take with me. And I have learned a very important thing. I saw it on someone's Instagram account. There's one, I think, violin teacher who said, you should never say that you cannot do something. You can say, I cannot do that yet, which puts things into an absolutely different perspective. It brings you towards a very positive mindset towards growth. And instead of putting cross and limiting yourself, you're ready to set off and go. And I said yes. So I taught myself physically to not say I cannot. I would actually then stumble and I would say, yet. I taught it, and I'm busy teaching that to my kid as well, because now, he's learning double stops and vibrato and position change and violin. Things get nasty and hard, and I see how he struggles. And he's like, I cannot. And I'm like, yet, I teach him. So because like this, he will know it since he's 6. So I feel that I'm blessed to have that experience. And now I'm in a new profession, which can also be very unpredictable, and you don't know whether you will be hired or not. But I told myself that I will leave it to God, or name it whatever, to care about whether I'll be hired or not, whether someone will like me or not. What I will do, I will just try to do my absolute best whenever I can, and not to blame myself if someone said like, oh, that was not good enough. Okay, I will say, okay, today it was not good enough. I will try to fix it by tomorrow or after tomorrow, in 3 weeks or in 3 years for sure I'll have it. So that has been my blessing. And since music makes me so happy, and I really know that it's something what I want to do till I die. I really know it. And this is also my privilege because I have not been doing it for 12 hours a day since I'm 4. It is not a routine for me. And I see sometimes when I speak with musicians, not necessarily even conductors, because conductors, they all have played an instrument and they have sort of made a transition, but especially orchestra musicians, I see that, they say, I need to go and practice. And for them, it's a routine, it's a hardship very often, they are in music what I was in dance. But for me, music is a blessing. For me, when I have my 2 or 3 hours, or sometimes I have 4 hours, it's amazing, to practice my violin, it's a la festa. I'm like, yes, thank God, I love it. Yes, yeah. I deserved it. All my chores are done. My son is fine. Let's go and play those scales. I love it. So it puts things into different perspective, and I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I see genuine surprise and spark in eyes of people when I say, music makes me happy. They say, why do you want to be a conductor? I say, music makes me happy. And people very often don't expect this answer, but it really is. Just today, it was an amazing thing organized by Royal Opera House in London, because they have these courses for women conductors, and they decided to do an online conducting course on excerpts of opera. Last week we did Don Giovanni by Mozart, and today we did some excerpts from Don Carlos. And it's my dream to conduct opera one day. I love it. I generally love things with plot, so that's why I don't mind conducting ballet, but opera would be very nice. But it's something I don't know. It's terra incognita a little bit. So I'm gathering a bit of knowledge. I was very happy. So today we were led by Jessica Cottis. What an amazing figure. What an amazing lady. And what a figure to follow, I would say. And then I got my little 15 minutes to conduct. And I got such a energy from it. Because it has been a long time since I actually stood up and I did something for myself a little bit, yes, but when you stand up and you sing and you do, it's a different thing. And I got such a positive wave of emotions for 3 or 4 hours afterwards. After that, I was running with my son. I said, I'm in so good mood, because I realized that this is really something what makes me happy. That's why in music, I don't think that I will ever say I want to quit. I don't think so.
Wow. Well, you spend a lot of time with your son. We heard about the ballet. We heard about the music. Hobbies. What are some hobbies that you actively do, or things that you are excited about other than music?
I actually don't have much time now, apart from my son, his violin, my violin, and my conducting and everything. I very much like reading, and definitely when my son will become a bit more independent, I will pick it up again. I discovered that I like gardening. My son asked me to plant some seeds, so we planted some cucumbers and tomatoes, and they grow very well. And every morning I wake up and I go and talk to them. It's nice to see them grow. I like to walk. When I was a dancer, I was also sewing ballet costumes. I was doing it to earn extra money to pay conducting courses. So I can sew pretty well. I can sew very nice ballet tutus. But I would much rather not do that, because it's also very time consuming. So let's say right now, violin is my absolute hobby. And I try not to find any other hobbies aside from what I already have, because I'm also a little bit unwinding from the past 5 years I have had working working 20, 21 hours a day. I think it takes some years to now get my energy back.
Yeah.
So in this sense, COVID was an amazing thing for me. I still didn't get much of sleep because I always read and I do some things, but somehow there was a moment to actually say I have nothing on my schedule, like no obligations. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So it's good.
With such a great career as a dancer and also, rising conductor, advice to young dancers, advice to young musicians, what would you say based on, and I know you said a lot throughout our conversation, but something specific, advice to young dancers or young musicians who are pursuing this field?
I think I have said it already in a couple of interviews, and I will stick to it. I don't have more to add. Always follow your heart, because we are so many in this world. We are constantly colliding our energies, and we all meet at different times of the day, of our lives, of our careers, experiences and stuff. So we never know how our word will enter the energy of another person and what it will do. But what we know is that when we say goodbye and we go home, in the evening we remain one-to-one with ourselves. And if someone says, like, you will never make it, you might go home and think that he said, and I'm sure he really thinks, or she really thinks that I'm crap. But actually, most likely this person doesn't think about you anymore, because we only think about ourselves. So what I have learned through years, and I'm determined to stick to it, is to take even 20 seconds a day to close my eyes and just try to hear what's happening right there, because that's the truth that rings from there. And in the end, no one cares about you except for yourself. For real, not even your parents, because they also have their lives to live. So if you really follow your heart, then people around you might say that you're crazy, like what you're undertaking is crazy, it will never happen. Or people say you're sick, you're out of your mind, or wow, wonderful, or whatever. It has to be right for you, and deep inside you always know it. Always. It's just we are very good at convincing ourselves otherwise.
Yeah.
So I would always say, stick to your heart. And if something makes you unhappy, unwind, sit down, think, and try to face yourself. And then many things will get sorted out.
Wow. Thank you so much. Anything else you want to add before we end today?
Oh my goodness, I have given such a lecture. No.
No,
I
it's
have
great.
blisters on my tongue.
And we could
No.
talk more. I love how you don't stop. You're natural at this. Maybe you should have your own podcast and talk about things because you're natural at explaining and talking about things. It's fantastic.
I sincerely don't think that I have anything special to tell to people. Like, I never wanted to become a choreographer. I never wanted to become a composer. And I don't want to be a blogger. Oh, people tell me you need to write a book about yourself because no one has done this kind of career path. And I sincerely don't have a feeling that I have anything special to deliver to people. And then I'm always surprised that people listen to when I answer their questions. And then I feel inside that maybe I'm talking too much, but they say, no, go on.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. When Martin, who I mentioned earlier, a fantastic bassoon player, and he was on the podcast, when he recommended your name along with a couple other names, I searched your name. I was like, wow, this is really an awesome story. So I was right away fascinated by your career path and how you kept music in your life and how you became a professional dancer. Now you're a professional conductor. And then I did some more research. I find out you're a mom and you're raising this awesomely talented boy who I watched some videos on your Instagram account. And so it's been great. It's been great following you. So hopefully we could do this some other time, and maybe even in person one day in Estonia, because I've never been.
Oh, please. Or who knows, maybe I will come to conduct. There's a ballet in San Francisco, there's ballet in Vancouver, which is not so far from Seattle. Yeah. Who knows, or maybe we'll meet in Toronto. You're always welcome to my shows. I get 2 free tickets per show.
Okay, well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to see you soon.
It's been an honor. Thank you very much.
Take care. Thanks for listening to Let's Talk Off the Podium. If you enjoyed this episode, please comment, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next episode.